Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Newcastle United Digest, the channel providing Newcastle United content in bite-sized chunks. My name is Adam Snyder, and this video will be a guide to getting around Chicago and what to do while you're not at the Premier League Fan Fest. If you're looking for tips on how to enjoy the Fan Fest itself, be sure to check out the video that we previously made about that. The link will be in the description below. Now, the latest edition of the Premier League Fan Fest, like I mentioned, is a few weeks away, and it's taking place in Chicago's Lincoln Park on September 21st and 22nd. This park is home to several sports fields, the Lincoln Park Zoo, and the Garfield Conservatory, and has also been a host of multiple watch parties for the U.S. men's and women's national team. It is a beautiful open space that will be perfect for this edition of the Fan Fest. Chicago has been a city that I've been in love with my entire life. It's a city that I grew up around, and I've always enjoyed my times visiting the city, whether it's to see friends, eat, go to concerts, do whatever. It's always been an absolute blast for me. And I have some great tips from my years of experience, as well as from friends that live in the city, on how to get around the city and enjoy what it has to offer. I've already spoken with a lot of you who are coming to this year's Fan Fest, and the overwhelming majority of you are flying. Whether you're flying in and out of O'Hare or Midway, the CTA, or what we call the L train, is your cheapest and quickest transportation option in and out of the city. The Blue Line will bring you to downtown for $5 out of O'Hare, and the Orange Line will do the same thing out of Midway for $2.50. Both of them will take you about 50 minutes or so with stops, and by comparison, a taxi or rideshare can take up to 90 minutes in rush hour traffic, and it will cost you 10 times that of a CTA ride. You can get around by purchasing CTA's transit card called a Venture Card, or you can tap a debit or credit card when you get on a train or a bus. The Venture Card is an actual physical card that'll cost you $5 to get, and it can be reused whenever you're in Chicago. If you choose to take the L-Tune from the airport, I recommend getting the Venture 3-day weekend pass. This pass will cost you $15 on top of the actual physical card, and it'll give you unlimited rides all over the city by L or by bus. If for whatever reason you're heading out to the suburbs to meet up with a friend, Pace Bus is also included on those. And Pace Bus is basically the network of buses that take you in and out of the city, into the suburbs, and all over the suburbs. If you're traveling all over Chicago, you're going to make your money's back on this, no problem. Now, if you want to learn more about this pass, as well as some schedules on how the buses and Ls do run, be sure to check out transitchicago.com. Now, from my experience, on the weekends, the L and the bus will operate anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the line, but it's not immune to its delays. If you're actually looking for the most up-to-date information in a very user-friendly app, I recommend downloading the City Mapper app. They're not paying me to recommend this. This is an app that I've been using for a long time at the recommendation of a friend, and I've used it everywhere I go, whether it's in Chicago and I'm looking for the closest L stop, or I'm looking for the best way to get from one place to another, or if I'm doing this in a city that I'm not very familiar with, but I know they have a good transportation system, I'll use the City Mapper app to get around. What it'll do is it'll tell you the best route to get there on different options. So it'll give you, like in Chicago, it'll give you an L option, it'll give you a bus option, it'll give you a rideshare option, and it'll also give you a shared bike option as well. So these are all the options that you're going to get in this app. And if you choose the L option, it'll tell you what cars to sit in to maximize your safety and the most quiet cars for the best experience for you. It will also give you a notification on when to get off, and I've found that to be very helpful wherever I go. Now, if you're coming in from out of the city and you're not flying in, you have some options by rail as well. The first one is going to be Amtrak, and you can check out the train schedules at www.amtrak.com. You can also get fares there. Some of the cities that this will be really good for are places like Detroit, Southwest Michigan, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, St. Louis. Kansas City is a bit too far, and unfortunately, Indianapolis is not a very good option anymore. They have since canceled the train that goes between Indianapolis and Chicago. But you can always head out to Amtrak.com for schedule and fares and how to plan your trip to coming in. Now, if you live a little bit closer, I'm talking about people that are in Northwest Indiana, or if you are in Michigan City, or if you live in very, very Southwest Michigan, the South Shore Line is also a great option. You can head to www.mysouthshoreline for fares and schedule information there, and that will take you basically to Millennium Park, and then you'd be able to take a bus or an L from there to get to Lincoln Park. Now, if you live in the suburbs of Chicago like I do, what your option to get in if you don't want to drive is Metra. You can get a weekend pass for $7, and that will get you to and from wherever you are. One of the things I'll say about this is you will have to take an early train. I live near Naperville, and if I was going to take the train from Naperville to get into the city and make sure that I'm at Lincoln Park an hour before Newcastle's kickoff, which is 9 a.m. So if I want to get to Lincoln Park by 8 a.m., you are going to have to take an early train. And for me, that would be a 6:18 a.m. train. So if you want to check out the schedules, make sure it's feasible for you, head to metrorail.com, and you can also get station information, fare information, and also you can purchase your tickets through the Venture app, and also at select stations there will be ticketing kiosks as well. Now, if you don't want to wake up that early and you just say, screw it, I'm going to drive into the city, but you're not sure where to park, I'll tell you right now, Lincoln Park at any time, especially for an event like this, parking is going to suck. And if you're going to find a spot to park, you're going to have to go to a parking garage that is going to be pretty expensive. The best way to combat that is to use the ParkWiz and Spot Hero apps. The reason I say use both of them is I usually pit them both against each other, and sometimes they have separate options, and sometimes they have the same garage at two different prices. So I always look for these two apps, and I always price them out to see what the best option is based on location and price. I typically pit both apps against each other for the best possible option. In fact, I booked my parking recently, and I was able to find a covered garage a quarter of a mile away for $16. If this is your first time coming to Chicago, first off, welcome. You have a lot of great neighborhoods to explore, museums to meander, and a city full of some of the world's greatest urban architecture. I could spend a long time talking about things to do, and there's so much that you can do, but I'm just going to cover the basics for you just so you don't get overwhelmed. And the first one is going to be the closest thing to the Fan Fest, and that is the Lincoln Park Zoo. This is a free zoo and is directly north of where the Fan Fest is going to take place. Check out the majestic lions, the birdhouse, and other amazing habitats that are on display there. Chicago's museum campus is home to great testaments to sciences of many disciplines, with each museum offering a different experience. First one is the Field Museum. Be sure to say hello to Sue the T-Rex, among the many other dinosaurs and other fossilized creatures on display. If marine biology is more your thing, or your kids love fish, dolphins, or penguins, the shed is a great place to take them. And this is by far my kids' favorite place to go in the city. If the cosmos and space excites you, the Adler Planetarium is a must-well in Chicago. Be sure to check it out. Chicago is a long-time transportation and industrial hub, and the Museum of Science and Industry is a great place to learn more about the city's role in the American economy. Some of the top exhibits are the submarine that you can walk through, the jets hanging from the ceiling, and right now there's a limited exhibit on the science of James Bond, which will be on display during the Fan Fest itself. This next museum is not near museum campus, but it's still worth mentioning. The Art Institute of Chicago is a great place if you love world-class art. Be sure to get your picture in front of the lion statues outside, or channel your inner Ferris Bueller on the inside. Chicago is home to some of the world's greatest urban architecture, and you can get amazing views of it in the air and on the water. And the first place to check it out from the air is the sky deck at the Sears Tower. Yes, it says Willis on the side, but everybody in Chicago will say it's the Sears Tower. And if they say it's Willis, they're not from here. But if the Ferris Bueller vibe is really hitting you hard while in Chicago, this is another great stop for you. The Skydeck is where Ferris looks straight down to check out the hustle and bustle of the city below. The other place that I also recommend is 360 Chicago at the Hancock Observatory. This is on the 94th floor of the Hancock, and it is an entire floor dedicated to taking in the sights of both the city and glorious Lake Michigan. The entire floor provides a full 360-degree view of the city and its surroundings, complete with a bar. And if you want to take the Bueller vibes to a whole other level, have somebody hold your beer and check out Tilt. This is an attraction where you literally hang on and hang over the side of the Hancock building. But if heights are not your thing and water is more your speed, I highly recommend taking the Chicago Architecture Tour. This 90-minute guided boat tour is a great way to experience Chicago's world-renowned buildings and how this magnificent skyline came to be. If at least 3 or 4 of these things are things that excite you, I highly recommend getting the City Pass. What the City Pass is it allows you to book up to 5 of these experiences for $139 per person and $109 for kids between 3 and 11. 2 of these things have to be the Skydeck at the Sears Tower and the Shed Aquarium. And then you have to choose between the 360 Chicago, the Architecture Tour, the Planetarium, Museum of Science and Industry, Art Institute, or the Adler Planetarium. And if you try to do all of these things separately, it's going to cost you significantly more than $139. I'll just tell you that right now. So if you're going to be spending some time outside of the Fan Fest and you want to check out the museums, I highly recommend getting the City Pass. Chicago is known for being a great live music town, and the biggest show during the Fan Fest is going to be Riot Fest. If you miss the days of Warped Tour and Ozfest, this annual festival is a little bit of both tours wrapped into one, with a diverse lineup of headliners that include Slayer, Fall Out Boy, Beck, and Sublime. This 3-day festival has a little bit of everything for the punk or metalhead in you. Just like Lollapalooza, there's also a long list of after shows at venues heading across the city. And if you want to learn more about all of these options, head to www.riotfest.org for scheduling and ticketing information. Outside of the Fan Fest, the only professional sports options are the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago Red Stars, the local professional women's football team. The Cubs take on the Nationals Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all 1:20 p.m. starts. And the Red Stars take on San Diego at Bridgeview's SeatGeek Stadium Saturday evening on the 21st. Now, this next part is going to be one of the most heated conversations that takes place on social media for people that live in and around Chicago. Who has the best insert food or drink type in Chicago? You can ask 10 different people the same question, and you'll most likely get 10 very good but very different answers. The Chicago food scene is one of the best and most diverse in the country, and yet it's home to some very unique cuisine that you can't find anywhere else. I won't go into who has the best what or who has the best of this or what, that, or the other thing. Let's just talk about the basics. First thing I'm going to talk about is Chicago's dueling pizzas. Many people associate Chicago with deep dish, but Chicagoans call that special occasion pizza, and they prefer thinner tavern cut pizza. If you want to sample both, I recommend going to D'Agostino's, and they have multiple locations, and they do both styles very well. If you're looking for great examples of both, head to Lou Malnati's, Gino's East, or Pequod's for deep dish, and then Pat's or Labriola for the thin stuff. And the next thing is going to be Italian beef. And if you've seen The Bear on FX, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, here's what Italian beef is. It's thinly sliced beef marinated in beef gravy, served with hot or sweet peppers, mozzarella on French bread. Your best options for this delicious sandwich are Home of the Bear, Mr. Beef. That's where a lot of the early scenes were filmed, and in my opinion, it's the best in the city. A very close second is going to be Al's Beef. They have multiple locations throughout the city, and the combination of their beef and fries is nothing short of magical. A special tip, if you can go to the original location in the University City neighborhood, check to see if Mario's Italian Lemonade across the street is still open. And the combination of Al's Beef, their fries, and Mario's Italian Lemonade afterwards is a great, great Chicago experience. Now, the most solid example, but not the best, and probably the most frequent place that you'll see getting Italian beef at is Portillo's. The one thing that they have going for them is that they have a ton of locations, both in the city and in the suburbs. Now, the other thing that's very unique to Chicago is the Chicago style hot dog. You'll probably hear the term drag it through the garden when you're talking about hot dogs. And what they mean by that is that it's an all beef hot dog topped with celery salt, neon green relish, yellow mustard, white onions, a pickle spear, tomato slices, all served on a poppy seed bun. One of the most popular places in the city is Wiener Circle near Lincoln Park. Another place is called Superdog. Portillo's is also known for a solid hot dog. Now, my favorite thing to get in the city, and I actually travel out of my way to go here to do this, is to get a breaded steak sandwich. Whenever Anthony Bourdain came to Chicago, one of his favorite places to eat in Chicago is a place called Riccobenni's. The breaded steak sandwich is both intimidating and very delicious at the same time. It's a big piece of thin breaded steak dunked in red sauce, served on a roll with mozzarella cheese. You can also get it with giardiniera on it as well. It's a little bit out of the way if you're going to be staying close to downtown and near Lincoln Park, but it's definitely worth going here to experience this for yourself. Another area worth mentioning is Chicago's West Loop neighborhood. This area is a few blocks of amazing food and drink options that are some of the best the city has to offer. One of the best places to get a deli sandwich is at Graziano's, which is right there in the West Loop. One of the best burger in the city, in my opinion, is at Al Cheval, which is in the West Loop. If you want to get pretzels and bacon and great beer selection, go to Kaiser Tiger at the very far end of the West Loop. If you want to get some great barbecue, Green Street Meats also has great barbecue. And if you want to get coffee while you're there, check out Sawada. One of the coolest things that I love about that place is that they do a latte that not only has espresso, but they also use green tea in it as well. It is amazing. And if you are not familiar with Nando's or you don't have one near you, there's one in that neighborhood as well. But there's also one in Lincoln Park. So don't go to the West Loop just for Nando's. Find another Nando's and then go to other places in the West Loop and enjoy that. Also, one of the best cocktail bars in the city called the Aviary can also be found in this neighborhood. The Aviary is run by a restaurant group that has multiple Michelin stars, and it is a very, very special experience. There's so many top-notch offerings from the many ethnicities that Chicago calls home. You can find amazing Mexican food, Chinese food, Cuban sandwiches, and many others I really don't have time to cover in this video. If you're from Chicago and want to offer up some of your favorite spots, please drop them in the comments below. I'm sure that everybody who is watching this will greatly appreciate those recommendations. This is a basic rundown of some of the sights and sounds that Chicago has to offer. There's so many other things that I simply don't have enough time to cover just because there's so much. If you're looking for something very specific, let us know in the comments below or send a message to the Teen Army Chicago Facebook page. You will definitely get an answer from either one of these options. And if you're liking this content among other Newcastle United content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and drop a comment if you are a new subscriber. Once again, my name is Adam Snyder for the Newcastle United Digest. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.